Hey everyone, Lachlan here. Today's movie is The Boxtrolls, which is a stop-motion animated film from Laika Entertainment, the same people who brought us Coraline and Paranorman. Now, after those two films, I was personally excited to go see this one, so how did it turn out in the end? Let's find out. So the main plot is about a town called Cheesebridge where they have a plague of trolls, or in this case box trolls, that live underground and would only come out at night to collect food while also trying to avoid Snatcher and his gang from capturing them. This plot is definitely not anything new, but the way they explain this plot is fun and creative and gives out a nice presentation of the movie. I like how it would show how both these worlds work. Like we have the human world where they have a fetish of cheese tasting and the underground world where the trolls live and, like I said before, would come out at night to collect food, but also build things out of random junk. With all that said, I do have one problem with the story, and it's that it's pretty predictable. They would take some elements from past films and unfortunately it would make it a bit dull and have us easily guess what might happen next. So it's not the story that works, but what they did with it. So with that said, let's take a look at our characters. First, we have our main character, Eggs, a kid who's living with creatures unlike his own kind because of a tragic backstory. Ah, crap. Well, even if that character has been done before, he can still be interesting whenever he would interact with the human world, and it would get pretty funny at times. Next, there's Winnie, the girl who finds Eggs and tries to convince her family that box trolls aren't bad. Yeah, pretty much. There's also our main villain, Snatcher. He can be a good villain with his passion to capture every box troll and get the white hat to go into the cheese tasting room, but I find he would get a bit over the top at times. We also have his henchmen, who are the sort of guys that always ask themselves whether they're good or bad. And then we have the box trolls themselves, who at first might seem like rip-offs of the minions from Despicable Me, but watching how they work and live together under the town is very interesting. So that's what I have to say about the story and characters. Now let's move on to the animation, and I can gladly say that Laika have greatly evolved with their stop-motion animation. The movements are smoother, the backgrounds are clearer, and they still have a bit of a dark tone in it. Firstly, I love the idea of having the entire town of Cheesebridge on a tall hill. The designs of the buildings, streets, and characters are really unique and really gives a chance to see how they live. Especially when it comes to the trolls, because watching them create devices and contraptions out of random junk and using it to their advantage is really cool. Another thing I like is when it would show the creative way Snatcher would try to catch the trolls, whether it be his traps or his unique vehicles, which would often lead to some high-paced chase scenes that are really fun to watch. This is one of the best, if not the best, pieces of stop-motion animation that I've ever seen, and knowing that a good majority of it is stop-motion instead of CGI is just breathtaking. Oh, and another thing I want to add is that I went to see this in 3D, and it was surprisingly effective. The Boxtrolls overall is a fun and enjoyable film where even if some of the characters are a bit off and the story is predictable, it still makes up for it with the execution, really cool setting and great use of stop motion animation. It's definitely not as good as Laika's previous movies, but it's still worth checking out. That's why I'm giving this movie a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching my review.